All right, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to Hockey Primetime. We are live from the Edison Ale House right outside the Prudential Center. The Islanders and the Devils, and both their fans have a little bit of a noise battle here right now. See which one can get louder. You got the Devils fan with the air horn. What do you call that thing? Like a vuvuzela? And then everybody's piggybacking, though, on the Devils guy with the thing the Islanders fans are using. I don't know. We're going to have a battle going all afternoon long. I'm Conor McKenna. Welcome to the show. Todd Lewis at my side. He's the host of Hockey Unfiltered. How are you? All right. There you go. Sorry. I can't hear Todd, but I know that he's right here next to me.
He is.
There he is. Very, very nice to have you next to me, Todd. And, geez, I mean, we got a pretty good turnout. Still 2 hours to go until game time, and it's like a mob scene here.
Hey, this is awesome. The fans for the Devils, the fans for the Islanders have turned out. This is going to be quite the pregame. Everybody's enjoying a little liquid lubrication, getting set for a good contest tonight between the Islanders and Devils. The chants are going back and forth. I can't believe how many jerseys are here. I mean, everybody is decked out in the colors of their team, and it's good. It's fun. Everybody's having a great time.
You seen any obscure jerseys yet, like a Valeri Zelepukin jersey or like a Bruce Driver or anything like that?
Haven't noticed yet, but I will be wading into the crowd to investigate, and I have not seen the Captain Highliner jersey yet, but I'm looking for those as well.
That is a collector's item, my friend. All right, so that's Todd Lewis. Todd's going to be checking in with us throughout the course of the broadcast, letting us know what's going on elsewhere and who's doing what, and also, got to remind you, $4 for a pint of Coors Light. That's also for a draft or a bottle. You can get a $20 Coors Light tower. I can see one right here in front of me. A tower of Coors Light. You do have to get a wristband. Get a wristband, and if you have a wristband, $20 for a tower of Coors Light. Are you a tower guy or a glass guy?
I've been helping empty some of the towers.
Have you?
So well, you know, you got to participate. You got to get into it. So but it's good. Yeah, great drink specials. We got tons of Coors Light prizes as well that we'll be giving away. We have groups from all over the place. The Devils All Day, All Night Facebook group is here. The Road Ice Travel group has brought in a whole bunch of Islanders fans, and it's going to be good. There's a lot of people who have come to watch their team play tonight, and we're looking forward to it. Looking forward to a good time.
Less than 2 hours to go until game time. It's the New York Islanders and the New Jersey Devils. We're live from the Edison Ale House right outside the Rock, the Prudential Center, a building I had a chance to check out yesterday for the first time. Just a beautiful facility that they've got there for the New Jersey Devils. You were in there with me as well, and this was kind of a great event. It's, I mean, I was surprised, right? Because I thought that it was kind of like we go in the VIP entrance, and I'm like, okay, this is like an invite-only type situation. And no, it's anybody can walk in. Anybody from the community can walk in. You sign a little release form. They've got skates of all sizes, and kids, grown-ups, put your skates on, go skate on the ice at the Prudential Center. They had all kinds of candy set up upstairs. Like, I mean, literally kids in a candy store. The kids are lining up, filling up their cups with candy. Just a very, very cool initiative. Coming from Montreal, that does not happen. You cannot get on Bell Center Ice without spending tens of thousands of dollars for the privilege of renting it out.
Different thing, though. I mean, you're trying to expand and grow the game into different markets in the U.S. as opposed to in Canada, where you are born almost with skates and in your bassinet beside you, so you learn how to skate almost before you can walk. But it was great. How was the ice, by the way? Good shape?
It was fine. I was in worse shape than the ice as far as my skating ability goes, but I think I did all right. There was a young fan who didn't really know what she was doing. Helped her around the ice a few times, tried to give her some pointers. I told her, and this is what any great athlete does, you blame your equipment. Her skates were just not tied up tight enough. And so I told her that it was her mom's fault for not tying her skates up tight enough, and that's why she was having trouble out there. And then I saw her. She skated over to her mom very slowly, and then went over and said, "Mom, what are you dealing with here?
It's good.
It's all your fault."
Yeah. Tie the skates up tight. Everything's good. Everything's fine now. So I think the crowd has gotten thicker in here in the last 3 minutes since this program started. It's unbelievable. As mentioned, we've got a ton of prizes that we're going to give away. Follow the program on Twitter at Hockey Primetime, and we want you to tweet us for prizes. We've got dozens of prizes from Coors Light. Take a photo of yourself in your Isles jersey, your Devils jersey. The Coors Light girls are here. Maybe you've got towels that you're waving. Maybe you've got other paraphernalia. Tweet it to us using the hashtag HPTLive. Tweet it to @HockeyPrimetime. We'll be giving away prizes over the next couple of hours. Good times, good fun. Everybody's enjoying it so far.
Excellent. Where are the Coors Light girls? I don't know. I'm just
priorities. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I heard they were going to be here. I haven't seen them. I just would like some evidence of that. All right. Thank you, Todd. We'll be checking in with Todd throughout the course of the program. We've got a lot of guests joining us between now and 7 o'clock today. And I'll do my usual rant. I'm not sure when I'm going to do it, but we'll find a way to get that in there. Maybe at the end of the show, maybe somewhere in between. But we do have a ton of guests joining us throughout the course of the program, including my buddy Dave Lozo. He is a Hoboken, New Jersey native. He'll be joining me maybe just before 6 o'clock. We've got some moving parts here. The important thing is that Dave will be hopping on with us at some point. We're also going to chat with Arthur Staple. Arthur's with Newsday. He's been with us before, covers the New York Islanders for that publication, so he's here covering the game. He'll be joining us at just after 5:20 today. And in just a few moments, we will be welcoming in our first guest, whose name is Russ Cohen. You can find him on Twitter @Sportsology. We're going to talk a little... we are going to talk a little Rangers. That is going to happen. So it's not going to be a Rangers free zone between now and 7 o'clock tonight, as much as many of the people here might like it to be. The Rangers suck chant has been prevalent so far. And we're also going to be talking to Hugh Weber. Hugh is the president of DAE Entertainment. He's the president of the Devils, the president of the Prudential Center. And he'll be joining us. So we'll talk a little bit about them getting into this community. What I referred to earlier, anybody could walk in yesterday, sign a form, put on a pair of skates, and go skate on Prudential Center ice. And now I'll meet my next guest live on the air. His name is Russ Cohen. You can find him on Twitter @Sportsology. How you doing, man?
Good. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you as well. And thanks for making time for me here today.
Anytime.
I know that you are the author of several books, a few of which I wanted to ask you about right now.
Okay.
Hang on, just a moment. So are we hearing?
I'm actually from Long Island, so I'm used to this.
So is it? Are you hearing more Devils or Islanders? I don't
No,
know.
I'm actually here to cover the whole thing, but I do have a morbid fascination with what's going on with the Islanders, because even though I grew up a Ranger fan and write Ranger books, I'm still plugged into the island. I go back 2-3 times a year, so I like to keep tabs on them.
The rivalry's always been good, but this year the regular season matchup seemed a little more amped up. It's special because it's the last year at Nassau.
Yeah.
It's special because the Islanders are good and they're battling the Rangers, or were battling the Rangers for a position for a long time. So, I mean, the rivalry seems as healthy as it's been for a long, long time right now.
Yeah, I was at the Coliseum for the Rangers' last game there, and it was as good as it was in the 80s when I would go. So it really was nice. It's a shame the Coliseum hasn't changed since then, but the rivalry has, and that's good. It's never gone away, but it's definitely reaching a new height now, and I think it'll stay there for a while. I think guys like Tavares have really helped bring that identity for the Islanders that, it just took a little while. And it took them drafting well and getting some players, getting the Boychucks and the Lettys, and now... Right. And Halak was the biggest thing, because that was what was really shooting them in the foot the last couple of years. They probably would have been here already had they had a goalie that, Nabokov was just a little past it.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so many things that have come together, too. I mean, look, the Tavares contract is probably as good of a contract as any team.
Maybe the best in the NHL.
It might be, and there's some pretty good ones out there. Let me ask you this, before we get into the Islanders specifically, you say you're a Long Island native?
Yes.
So how do you feel about the team moving to Brooklyn?
I don't like it. I mean, Nassau Coliseum, when I grew up and I used to go to New York Nets games there in the ABA, that was a great place. It was brand new. But the problem was, over the years, ownership just didn't do the upkeep. And then by the time Charles Wang got there, he didn't really want to invest much into it because he kept having dreams of building a new place, and it never happened. So it makes me sad, though, because there's a lot of people on Long Island that now have to add an extra hour onto their commute. And people from the outside say, hey, look, the Islanders are good. They've got new marketing. It's all going to work out. But it may not work out on a Tuesday night if they're playing the Buffalo Sabres, and I'm working a 9 to 5. Now I got to go to Manhattan to Brooklyn and then go home to Long Island for another hour after that. It gets to be a late night.
And then, I mean, you're talking about sort of and I'm sure this is what they're hoping for, is new fans from Brooklyn. But
they're predominantly Ranger fans.
Right.
I mean, Brooklyn's been a Ranger area
Yeah.
forever. So that's going to be a little bit of a tough sell. Now, the Islanders are up and coming. They have some young stars. A guy like Josh Hosang, hey, he's going to fit into Brooklyn really well.
Right.
He's Jewish. He's Asian. That's that's good demo for Brooklyn.
Is he really into like expensive coffee? And
I don't
stuff
know.
like
I
that?
haven't
No?
really asked him about it.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, he's a nice looking prospect. And a
Yes.
guy. There's a lot of weird stuff's been said about him. All right. Now, okay. So let's just go with the Islanders. Fine. You've got the Tavares contract. Now you've got these two new ones. Leddy signs and Boychuk. So what kind of an effect on a dynamic of a locker room would you expect something like that to have? Tavares got this great deal, and now you've got a guy in Boychuk who's making so much more money than him. Is that weird at all for a guy he's not just the best player on their team, he's maybe the best player in the game.
I don't think he really looks at that stuff all that much. Look, agents are always whispering in players' ears, but anytime I talk to John Tavares, I'm in that room, and I've covered a fair amount of Islander games via Philly, via New York, and otherwise. You know what? I don't get that sense, and I feel like he is making money on the side. I mean, he does get endorsements, and I think he knows his bigger contract will come. And John Tavares, to me, has never struck me as a guy that wants to be the highest paid guy. Like, he's always been
Clearly.
sort of like a quiet superstar, and has always been that way. Even when it was in Oshawa, and I would cover him a game or two there, I never got that sense out of him. So I don't think it'll be a problem. I think he's always wanted his team to get better, and I think he's probably happier about that.
Well, I mean, that's definitely exactly what's happened, and it's good to see for him, a guy who's stuck with him through thick and thin. There's always been talk, Toronto wants him.
Toronto wants him bad, right?
Everybody wants him.
I know.
Who wouldn't want a guy like that?
Right.
So nice to see the Islanders have a guy like that.
Yes.
And the Islanders, look, they're hitting a bit of a tough patch lately. Is this just the inevitable ups and downs of a season? Is it
I thought that
indicative?
at first, but now I kind of have to look at it and say, in that Islander-Ranger game when Leddy was out, I noticed that the Islanders' power play was completely out of sync. And to me, losing one really good power play guy shouldn't put it completely out of sync. But it did, and it has. And look, Boychuk can run a power play, right? There shouldn't be an issue, but for some reason there is. So they're really hurt in that regard, and I think that's cost them, some games. And so we'll see. I mean, I think they'll snap out of it, but the longer it goes, the worse it looks. And first round, this is a team that needs to desperately get out of the first round, right? They haven't been out of the first round in forever.
Right.
And now for that confidence, I feel like they really need to get out of the first round. Depends on the matchup. It could be a tough matchup for them.
It seems like no matter who they play, it's going to be tough. I mean, that division is very, very tough. And it's weird how each team seems to have sort of their own kryptonite, right?
Yes.
And every team has a team that they kind of own. So we'll see how many of them end up playing each other, but it is going to be fun. I mean, that's what makes a game like this relevant, is you're looking at the Devils. All right, there's guys that are fighting for their jobs next year.
Yep.
You've got even assistant coaches who have a lot on the line, or associate coaches, or whatever it is that they're calling them in New Jersey. And the Islanders want to finish as high as they can, maybe even try to catch the Rangers. The Rangers are flying right now. The trade for Keith Yandel, there was a lot of criticism of the team, maybe mostly from outside. I'm not sure what it was like in this market.
And even from a prospect guy like me, it was a bounty, and he hasn't fully paid off that bounty yet. So we'll see. I mean,
so how much? I mean, he doesn't deserve too much credit for the run that they've been on, because they have been on an absolute tear with or without Henrik Lundqvist.
I would say a little credit. I would say Cam Talbot really deserves the lion's share, because I was one of those guys that said, hey, if Talbot goes 500. They'd be, sitting pretty, and he did a lot more than that. And Alain Vigneault, I mean, this is a guy who, he's been to the Cup before a couple of times, a couple different clubs, and he's been tinkering with that lineup little by little, and even in-game does some very good maneuvers, very good changes, especially in the third period. I got to give those guys credit first. Yandel has helped with the puck movement, but he hasn't put any points on the board yet. And his defense is a little better than it was in Phoenix, but the Rangers' team defense pretty much hides that, I think.
Is this club better than the one that went to the Cup final last year?
I think it is, but the problem with what you said before about how the playoffs are sort of aligning, it may be a lot tougher for them to get there. It was a lot easier, it seemed, for them to get there last year, but I do think this team is better.
What's the dream matchup in the first round?
Well, the dream matchup would be Islanders-Rangers, but that won't happen. It's probably going to, it looks like it could be, Rangers Pittsburgh,
Right.
and that could be it, because last year I covered that Game 7 in Pittsburgh, and I was on Pittsburgh radio before the game, and I really thought the Penguins would edge out that game, and they didn't. And now they're going through some turmoil themselves. Mike Johnston is sort of like looking like that same coach he was in juniors, where the team's always whining and complaining about penalties, and now Bill Guerin basically told him to shut up.
Right. Which is not something you want to be happening with 10 games to go until the playoffs.
Correct.
And there's so much uncertainty. I mean, look, we can talk about everything else we want with the Penguins. Marc-Andre Fleury, it sort of begins and ends there.
It does.
If he can be the guy he was in, 08-09,
Yep.
then they could win the Stanley Cup. If he can't, if he's the guy he's been since then in the playoffs, they could crash out in the first round of the second round.
Yeah, Fleury didn't cost them last year. He was great. And I think people have gotten used to sort of just jabbing him and saying, oh, you're not good anymore, and yeah, you won a cup, but what have you done for me lately?
Yeah.
But if you go back, like when I was a kid, goalies had ups and downs. There would be guys that would have, Eddie Jockman would have these ups and downs. Anybody. Tony Esposito would have ups and downs. These guys didn't win cups every year.
Right.
So I think people are a little harsh on Fleury, and I think he's still playing really well. This year has been a good year for him.
Let me ask you then, and you're right, he has. He's been outstanding. He's got 9 shutouts this year.
I know, but people would still come up to you and say he stinks.
Right.
Can't do it in the playoffs.
Well, I mean, he hasn't done it in the playoffs for 6 years. It's a what have you done for me lately type league.
It is.
That's how sports are, especially these days, right?
I know. Didn't Patrick Waugh go for a little spell, like from '93 until he was in Colorado? It's not like he won a cup every year.
He didn't win any cups in '94. He got traded in '95. But I mean, you look at the team he won a cup with in '93, and they basically started pulling that team apart right away. They were so young; it's a shame.
Yeah,
and it's another.
But you
story.
get my drift.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, look, every goaltender has up. Winning the Stanley Cup is absolutely insane.
It is.
And only one guy does it every year.
People kill Henrik Lundqvist. There are Ranger fans now that would rather see Cam Talbot. And I'm like, wait a minute, the guy made it to the Cup. Once you make it there, that is as much as you could put on a goalie's shoulders. The rest of the team has to help out. I mean, that's as much as you can do.
Does the amazing run that Talbot has had, and not even that, I mean, all last year too, he was outstanding whenever he did play.
He was.
Does the fact that he's played so well in any way diminish Henrik Lundqvist's accomplishments or make you second guess how great he really is? If this unheralded guy could come in and tear it up and put up similar numbers.
No, New York is a backup goalie, backup quarterback town, and you probably saw years ago Jeff Hostetler rode that wave with the Giants, and Phil Simms sat on the bench. The Rangers won't do that, trust me.
I think of, I guess, what was it, Tim Tebow and Mark Sanchez?
Yeah,
right?
I'm a Jet fan. Don't get
really?
me started.
Oh, well, no, I mean, hey, you got Crow and Revis back.
We got Revis back,
yeah. All right, so before we wrap things up here, and so much to get to, I mean, look, people talk, Russ, about championship windows. Do you look at the Rangers as being in that situation? Because that was the first thing I thought of when Glenn Sather went out and pulled the trigger on the deal. I thought of 2 different windows. And maybe the whole thing is a fallacy. I've seen arguments that it is. There's a window for Henrik Lundqvist. I think he's 34 going on, or 33 going on 34.
Correct.
So you only have so many years left. You know that. And Glenn Sather, not a young man either.
No.
You got to think that he wants to win a cup before he steps away from the game, whenever it is that happens. How big of a window do you think that this team has? Marty St. Louis, another guy, right? I mean, there are key components on this team that are aging. What do you think? How wide is the window right now?
I really think it's this year and next year.
Yeah.
I really do, because then after that, you've got to decide, are we giving Yandel a contract? The talk is they're going to re-sign St. Louis the minute he comes back and let him decide every year. So what, he's going to play till he's 42, 43? I mean, in this NHL, that's kind of tough to do. Now, if you're a Yager, you can get away with it because he's built his body up. He walked in the locker room one day and showed me, he goes, look, I'm a 230-pound power forward. Marty St. Louis can't do that.
Right.
So we'll see. But I really do think it's 2 years because, again, and look, that Lundqvist injury was freakish. But if you go back and look in Ranger history, 10 years is sort of like the cutoff for greatness for Ranger goalies. He's in uncharted territory right now.
All right, well, it's going to be fun to watch. A very entertaining team. We're going to see them in the playoffs, and hey, maybe you and I will run into each other. I'm covering the Habs.
Oh, yeah.
You're on the Rangers, so
I'll be around.
Could be on a collision course once again this year.
Actually, I like the Habs.
That's
my pick to come out of the East, to be honest.
Carey Price.
He's having the best year. He really is.
He's having one of the best years anybody's ever had.
I know. Better than Pekka Rinne. I would give him the Hart. I would.
I agree. I completely agree. Russ, thank you for your time.
Same here, Connor.
That is Russ Cohen at Sportsology on Twitter. This is Hockey Primetime. I'm Conor McKenna. We're with you until 7 o'clock this evening on Sirius XM NHL Network Radio. We're also streaming live at hockeyprimetime.com. We're live from the Edison Ale House in the heart of Newark, New Jersey, just steps from the Prudential Center. We've got Devils fans, we've got Islanders fans all lined up both ways. On the other side, we're going to be chatting with Arthur Staple. We'll get back into the New York Islanders. Having a bit of a tough time right now, but definitely the future looks bright. The present looks pretty bright as well. We'll talk to Staple when the show goes on. This is Hockey Primetime live on Sirius XM NHL Network Radio.